pandemic to policies and contracts, to volunteering, and as the emerging leader in the construction industry. Our speakers are from all over the world, starting from Sri Lanka to Malaysia, Hong Kong, Singapore, Nigeria, Ghana, Indonesia, Brunei, Philippines, and Kenya. Before we start, let us go through some of the ground rules for a smooth and effective webinar. Please make sure you are muted at all times to avoid interference to the speakers. Be in appropriate attire for group photo later. There will be a question and answer session at the end. So kindly send your questions directly to the moderators, myself and Jacqueline. We will compile and present to the speakers for answers at the end. Our special guest, Surveyor Quadwal, Jose Asante, is currently in the meeting and will be joining us a little later. We shall proceed with our seminar and invite Mr. Quadwal in between the topics. Before we have our first speaker, please allow me to share a little about ICEC Rising Professionals. Jacqueline, if you can put up my slides, thank you. Yeah. Okay, if we go to the next slide. So ICEC Rising Professionals was formed on November 2018 at the joint ICEC PAQS conference in Sydney. It was initiated by Surveyor Titi Chong of HKIS Hong Kong, who shared his dream to drive the future of cost management profession. He sees the importance of bridging between the seniors and the juniors, not just the passing of skills down, but also up, in terms of technology and emerging trend ideas. After all, the future is always passed down to the next generation. Next slide, please. Our objectives are the exchange of professional knowledge, aiding career development. So we exchange ideas and visions among us, learning different practices from all over the world. So we get to understand the culture and differences to complement one another better. And also serve as a networking platform, offering global communication opportunities. So global connectivity is far-reaching as ever. And also promoting ICEC to young members in ICEC member association. Our mode of operation is mainly online with a face-to-face meeting during the ICEC World Congress, which is held every 2 years, but due to COVID-19, the ICEC World Congress 2020 in Ghana was postponed to 2024. In 2022, the ICEC World Congress will be held in Rotterdam, Netherlands, 12 to 15 June, and we look forward to seeing you there. I would like to share the importance of young professionals. Next slide, thank you. I would like to share the importance of young professionals' involvement in their local associations, as well as global bodies such as ICEC Rising Professionals. Understand that this involvement may come at a price of sacrifice to personal time, but I assure you that it will be worthwhile and rewarding. It allows us to understand the market and industry better as we speak to the crucial players directly. Hence, we can anticipate and adapt accordingly. We develop leadership, communication, and organization skills with hands-on experience. Therefore, we can gain a sense of responsibility and empowerment through working with people. Working with a diverse group of people with differing backgrounds and experiences allow us to broaden our perspectives and allow us to leverage our knowledge and experience as a resource for others. We often overlook the recognition for our involvement and achievement. It's a valuable part of nurturing self-efficacy to develop into outstanding professionals. In helping others grow, we will indirectly be helping ourselves. Next slide. These next two slides are past webinars which we did before, where we started in April 2020 and it's still going strong till today. We hope to keep these webinars going to grow our audiences and speakers, and we look forward to having you join us in driving the future of the profession. So kindly inform us if you have interest as a speaker, or simply follow up in our social media, which will be shown in the chat later. I thank you for your patience. I'll now invite Jacqueline Huan, Vice Chairman of ICCRP, to introduce my good brother, whom I've known since 2012, Surveyor Hasita Gunasekara. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Aaron. And once again, welcome everyone to join our first webinar of the year, the Future Connect 2021. So without further ado, so now I will actually introduce the speaker profile of our next speaker, which is Hashida Gunasekaran from Sri Lanka. So Hashika Gunasekaran is a chartered quantity surveyor and fellow member of the Institute of Quantity Surveyors Sri Lanka, in short, IQSSL. He is also a council member and chairman of the board of the Quantity Surveying, Education and Training of the IQSSL. He is a council member of AIQS Sri Lanka chapter, and he is also the director of the AQRS Consultant PBT Limited. He obtained his Bachelor of Science in QS and Master of Science in Project Management from University of Moratuwa. So currently, he is also the chairman of the YQS group or PAQS, the Pacific Asia Quantity Surveying for the term 2019 and 2021. So without further ado, I will pass the mic to Hashita for his sharing of his topic for today. Hashita, please.
Thank you, Jackie. Kind introduction, and good evening, good afternoon, and good morning to all of our members. Today, I'm representing Institute of Quantity Survey Sri Lanka as well as Pacific Association Quantity Surveyors Young Quantity Surveying Group. I hope everybody is keeping well in this pandemic situation. Before I move into my original topic, I would like to introduce a little bit about YQSG, Young QS group of PAQS first, and also about my institute. Young Quantity Surveyors group of Pacific Association Quantity Surveyors were established in 2009, gathering the young blood of the various countries together for a group to generate the next generation of the PAQS. Since then, there have been 14 countries participating in this group, and I have been the chairman of YQSG from 2019 to 2021 period. Also, I am representing the Institute of Quantity Survey Sri Lanka as a council member. The Institute of Quantity Survey Sri Lanka is also one of the member countries in PAQS. We are at the moment we are facing the our first experience in a global pandemic situation. I think as young members, youngsters, we haven't been having this sort of experience before. Since 1918, from this Spanish flu, this was the largest pandemic situation in the in this century. We understand that most of these our countries, our fellow people in this world has suffered from this COVID-19 situation. However, I think there is a silver lining in this dark cloud. COVID-19 opened the eyes of the construction industry on how business integrity and technology can be fully stimulated and relied upon to execute remote projects. This was the first time I think the world come into a single platform in a for the communication and also in a working environment where we are using internet and communication like Zoom, MS Team, like platforms. In my presentation, I would like to discuss 4 areas, actually 5 areas, where we can see the positive impact in this darkest times. One is in terms of quantity surveys, the use of technology during this pandemic period, the communication and the things that we can learn in our contracts, managing our contracts and for the future drafting of contracts. Also, we have learned, we can see certain positive elements in terms of gaining knowledge. Also, the social aspect, even though this is not directly relevant to the quantity surveys or the young quantity surveys, but I think as members of the society and professionals in the industry, I think there are a lot of things that we can learn in the social aspects. When we consider the technology, implementation of the technology in documentation was the first of an experience that we have gained during this period. I think a lot of countries, and I think almost all the countries, have been faced lockdowns, uh, curfews during the COVID period. So we learn how to manage our organizations and the documentation through using information technology. That was a very encouraging and something that has been pursued many quantity surveyors who were just used to do the traditional documentation methods. It was pursue them to adapt to the new technology. Then the second one that I can think of is the use of software based data storage. Today now everybody use clouds to store their files, records, and information. Why? Because now we are turning into the era where we are going online and we are working home, sometimes in online working environment. So now we understand the importance of having cloud-based storage facilities for our documentation. Even as a quantity survey, the models that we create, the drawings we shared, the BOQs we prepared, now we are storing them, enabling us to have a remote access on our documentation. So wherever we work, whether we are working in our home, or whether we are working in the office, or if we are in the remote location, still because of this technology and because of the use of clouds, now we can access our documents very easily and we can share it with other colleagues very easily. The third one, I think we have already have lot of discussions like in use of building information modeling. When I see or when I participated during last few PAQS forums and also the other webinars, I noticed that most of the countries are adopting building information modeling. But I think this situation specifically impacted the proper use of BIM, building information modeling. And also, I think this has encouraged our not only the young quantity surveys, but our seniors to understand the value of building information modeling. Because if you can see now, we can't work in a normal or traditional office environment due to this pandemic situation. So everybody has to work online, in located in different places. The best option or the best solution that we can have as a quantity survey to prepare our document, to take off the quantities, to prepare the BOQ, to adapt for the building information modeling package. From that, everybody can work in a single model from wherever they want to. So that is I think the main advantage that we have gained in this pandemic situation. Then in our projects also that we are having this experience where we use the online site working networks. So we are using project for the project management and contract management. We are using online platforms. We share our documentation. We issue site instructions. We observe site progress. Um, Before the COVID-19 situation, we used to visit site for every site meeting. To observe the progress, we wanted to visit the site physically. But now, with use of online facilities and video feedbacks, we can uh, lively observe the site progress. This has been created new or this has provided new insight on project management. Rather than we are using traditional project management softwares, we are now using developed online facilitated softwares. So that is a bit huge advantage in terms of remote access to the project controlling. The other one is the virtual reality and augmented reality provided remote project management and conflict resolution. Now, if you have participated in arbitration or adjudication process, usually we had to be physically in an arbitration center, or we have to be in line face-to-face meetings. But now the use of remote access to demonstrate the situation in virtual reality, I think this has been getting day by day a popular option. So I think this will enable to enable reserving the time of professionals. When we take a professional, his time has a value. As a quantity survey, your time has a value. So if you are going to use this technology without knowing yourself, you are saving the time you spent on the road, you are spent on your meetings. By while working with your project, you will have enough time to gather other information. When you are working online, you can gather information while delivering your speech or while delivering your presentation. You have the facility of obtaining necessary supporting information. So that is an advantage that we need to consider during these difficult times. As I said earlier, the communication, that is also very important area where we have used or where we use for communicate with each other. Usually we use emails or maybe a telephone call. Sometimes we have to be physically present in certain meetings. But now, who thought that we will do all these meetings and conduct our discussions, negotiations through online facilities? I don't know whether most of us were aware of this Zoom, WebEx, or Microsoft Teams before this pandemic situation. Now they have become a part of our daily life, like Excel and AutoCAD. So that is an advantage we have identified, the area that we have explored during this pandemic situation. Now, without spending time on traveling or visiting sites, by being at the office, we can contact our site quantity surveys. We can issue instructions to our site quantity surveys. And when during a meeting in normal conditions, we are recording the minutes, right? We have to record and distribute them through email. That was the traditional practice. But now, what now happened now? We can online record and share it in same time, right? Either it can be recorded as video feedbacks or it can be recorded as a voice records. Now this has been a new area that we can use in our future contracts. And also it reduces the response time. Usually when there is a meeting and decision has been made, we take time to draft a letter and email and send it. But now what happened? Online we are issuing instructions because we know that in our platform we can record our instruction for future use. So that gives us a better response time considering the traditional or pre-pandemic period. Also, the artificial intelligence, especially, I don't think it has been mainly used for the quantity survey practices, but I think I have seen that they are used for the project management or site management purposes. So that is another area we have explored the communication during this pandemic situation. Main feature or the main uh, benefit that I am seen during this period is the gap between the seniors and the young quantity surveyors, the age gap in using the technology has been minimized during this period. Use of technology, now all the our elders as well as our youngsters are using the same technology, even though our elders are not used to have these technologies, or they initially reluctant to use this technology, but I think now they are working head to head with the youngsters. So that is a benefit, I think. Otherwise, if this is not happen, how do we convert ourselves to the new technology? Yes, we talk about the new technology, use of beam, artificial intelligence, virtual reality, but before this pandemic situation, those are basic, mainly theoretical discussions. Sometimes it were limited to the demonstrations, but now we are having offhand experience of these things. That is benefit we get. The contracts. This is the most important area I think we should identify, because in the contracts we have identified that there is an alternative rather than having claims, conflicts, or disputes. Because of the pandemic, the contract and client learn to mitigate certain things to come to a compromisation for the betterment of the project. So we use the force majeure clauses, but now what happened? Even that clause had to be changed. If you have seen the recent publications made by JCT, NEC, and FIDIC, you will understand that there are certain amendments has to be done for the force majeure clauses. So that we have a new perspective of delay analysis. There is a way, now we understand that there is a way of managing claims or disputes or losses rather than going for a fight, allowing additional provisions for the project. Now we have to identify where we never thought that certain health requirements, now we are going to adapt into our contracts. This is another positive area. While you are drafting or developing a contract, you have to consider the possibility in future unforeseeable new conditions like this pandemic situation. So the contracts has to be drafted in such a way in future to adapt to situation like this, rather than clear cut divisions between client and contractor. Now we have the option of going for a better contract drafting. As the industry adapts itself to the new normal, I think clients and us quantity surveyors and the quantity surveying professionals has to think about the areas there where we have to manage these type of situations. So the materials shortages related claims and all these claims can be accommodated into our future contract drafting. And also another important area is that gaining additional knowledge. I think during last 1 year period, there are a lot of webinars being conducted, so you are working at home and in the lockdown period, so you can gather more information, you can gather knowledge during this period. So use this as a positive uh, aspect to gain more knowledge.
Hasita?
And this will be my last stress.
Oh, you have to. Okay. All right. Thank you.
So the social aspect is the most important thing that we have learned. The new arrangement of working had created more social life to us, away from the 8-hour working night shift. Now we are working home-based environment where we develop our social environment. So moreover, the difficult times create strongest person. So as a quantity survey and young quantity surveyors, I think we should use this opportunity in a positive way to develop these things in our life. So these are the things that I would like to present in uh, terms of the pandemic period, the positive aspects of the pandemic period. And thank you very much for this opportunity. And over to you, Jacqueline.
Aaron, sorry, you are muted.
Yep. Thank you, Bro Hashita, for sharing with us. This gives us thoughts on how resilient are we in the construction industry in anticipating risks. Did we adapt enough? And perhaps it's time to review our strengths and weaknesses. Now, I understand that Surveyor Kwado Ose Asante, our special guest, is. And thank you, Surveyor Kwado, for joining us. I hope your meeting went well. So please allow me to introduce our special guest, Surveyor Kwado Ose Asante, the immediate past chair of ICC. He holds a Bachelor of Science honors degree in Building Technology, postgraduate diploma in Computer Science, postgraduate diploma in Life Cycle Costing, Construction Plant and Equipment, and also an MBA in Project Management. Surveyor Ose Asante is a Chartered Quantity Surveyor, Chartered Construction Manager, Certified Project Manager, Chartered Arbitrator, EDIA Expert, Certified Forensic Auditor, and Procurement Specialist. He is the immediate past Chairman of ICC, Fellow and past President of Ghana Institution of Surveyors, Fellow and past Chair of CIOB, Member of ICS, Member of Society of Construction Law, Chartered Institute of Arbitrators, Project Management Institute, Corporate Member of FIG, International Federation of Surveyors, Member of Commonwealth Association of Surveying and Land Economy, and a Certified Forensic Claims Consultant from AACE International. Surveyor Ose Asante is a Works Contract Disputes Resolution Facilitator, Assessor at the Commercial Division of High Court of Ghana, and a Court-Connected Alternative Dispute Resolution Mediator, and teaches Works Procurement at GIMPA and Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology at the graduate level. Such is an incredible achievement and a target for us to work towards. It is an honor to have Surveyor Kwado Ose Asante as our special guest today. Please welcome Surveyor Kwado Ose Asante.
Thank you very much for this elaborate introduction. I thought this time around, this introduction will not come. But first, I must apologize. I was thinking of this meeting at 7 p.m. because that was the latest that I was informed. So I've scheduled most of my assignments this morning so that I can have sufficient time for the evening. Be as it may, I am always in to assist the Icec rising professionals because they are the future leaders of Icec. And I believe, like previously I indicated to a similar gathering on lean principles and the rest, I believe sincerely that you must be encouraged. And on the occasion, on the 20th November, when I was handing over to Engineer Gianluca of Italy, I did indicate in my opening speech to the council that we must be able to encourage Icec rising professionals because I was highly impressed with the lecture delivered, including how to maximize value and minimize waste and have what we call continuous improvement. I was actually highly impressed with that organization. And I'm hoping that the speaker then, Tarusha Ranadawa, who spoke on lean construction, will make his paper available for publication in the Icec International magazine. I've since looked at some of them, but I haven't found the lecture in there, especially his use of the 5S, which is highly guiding principle for me now. Now, getting back to the issues for today, you realize that since rising professionals came to be through the instrumentality of our past chair, TT Chen of Hong Kong, we have had a lot of energetic young ones who are pushing the issue, including the chairman. So I'm hoping that this will be a continuous situation for all of us to be aware that Icec has a future. And I trust that with this second lecture that I'm attending, and I understand there have been others, you will continue to be of relevance to the Icec fraternity. I don't want to be long on this, but I believe sincerely that Icec rising professionals must have a major role in the Icec. And I have already proposed that you should be a member of our board with the voting rights so that you can articulate the ideas of the youth of Icec. I must say also that the Icec 2022 World Congress will be held in Region 2, Europe, in Rotterdam. And it's been hosted by Dutch Association of Course Engineers, and it has been approved by the board. And then Icec 2024 will be held in Accra here, also duly approved by the Icec board. And I'm hoping that members of these two associations, of the Dutch Association of Course Engineers and the Ghana Institution of Surveyors, will have a meaningful role to play within the Icec Rising Professionals. We encourage our youth to be part of you and to copy your examples, because already your chair has been recommended to Icec board to assist us in other areas of capacity building. Because I find your communication very efficient, and it can be a very good vehicle for us to run Icec quite apart from the rising professionals. So on this note, let me congratulate you for this second time around. And I'm hoping and praying that you will be a major role player in our affairs as Icec. I thank you very much for this opportunity, and I'll sit down quietly and listen to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Surveyor Pado Sayasante. Thank you for your kind words and encouragement, and for the motivational and inspiring speech. We shall take note dearly and continue on our endeavors on this journey.
Okay. Thank you very much, Augustine.
Thank you. Before we progress any further, let's have a group photo session to remember today's event. Our moderator, Jacqueline Huan, will be assisting in grabbing our handsome and beautiful faces. So guys, please turn on your videos.
Yes, may I request everyone to turn on your video? You can take the chance to tidy out your appearance, and I will need because today we actually have close to 80 participants as of now, so I will be taking 3 page of photo. Okay, please give me a second. Okay, please give me your brightest smile. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, please continue. Okay, thank you everyone.
Thank you everyone for your cooperation and handsome looks. Right. Without further ado, we'll go to our next speaker. It's actually two speakers from RSM. Please allow me to make a short introduction for both of them. First off, we have Dr. Tiong Mei Chuan, who is a Chartered Surveyor of RICS, Consultant QS of Board of Quantity Surveyors Malaysia, BQSM, member of Royal Institution of Surveyor Malaysia, Certified Adjudicator of Asian International Arbitration Center, graduated with a Bachelor of Science Quantity Surveying Honours, as well as a PhD in Quantity Surveying. She has had diverse experience in the construction industry, as well as the education line. She worked for consultant, main contractor, as well as lecturer for the past 12 years. Currently, she is practicing in an international contracting company. At the same time, she keeps herself abreast of the current research development in the building and construction field to fill the gap between industry and education. Dr. Tiong is also a member of US, ICEC Rising Professionals Honorary Treasurer. And we have the other speaker, who is Surveyor Nazira Haji Zainuddin. She received her Master of Science in Quantity Surveying from Herawat University and recently passed for her PhD Viva at University Technology Malaysia. Receiving her registered surveyor status at a very young age, she is a professional surveyor with the Board of Quantity Surveyor Malaysia and the Royal Institution of Malaysia. She is also a chartered surveyor with the UK Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyor. She is also among the earliest pioneer of professional technologists with the Malaysia Board of Technologists. She actively involves in research with more than 100 papers, wins local as well as international invention awards, as well as leads core research more than 10 research grants. Recently, she has been awarded an International Scholar Young Researcher. Her research interests are on sustainable and resilient development and practices in higher education, institution, and construction industry. Other than that, she also actively involves with professional bodies as subcommittee member, local and also international level. Their topic is the throes of unprecedented COVID-19 toward Malaysian quantity surveyors. So let us invite our first speaker from ISM, Dr. Tiong. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm Tiong from Royal Institution of Surveyors Malaysia. Now, the first part is going to introduce RISM YQS Young Quantity Surveyor Group. Previously, YQS was named as junior organization. It was named to YQS since 2020. And the vision of YQS is to bridge the communication between the experienced members and the newcomers in the industry, while the mission is to promote young quantity surveyors to become a registered RISM member, to recruit and retain membership at the highest possible level, and to provide a platform and to unite all young quantity surveyors in Malaysia through our three main series of strategies, which are to promote members' interest in the RISM, to increase the involvement of young quantity surveyors and graduate members, and to be more informative and accessible to all members to steer the related surveying industry to greater heights. So there are a few portfolios under the Young Quantity Surveyors Group, or we call Young Quantity Surveyors Subcommittee, namely CPD, newsletter, sport and social, professional practice, IT, and education. So each of these portfolio plays its own role. Let us look at the CPD. CPD main objective is to maintain the awareness of the development throughout the profession, to update knowledge on the latest changes in technology, legislation, and sustainable practices, and to enhance professional knowledge, skills, and quality of personality among the RISM young quantity surveyors. The newsletter portfolio is to assist and to oversee the publication of QS.com, formerly known as Berita QS. Is actually a type of publication by the RISM, an international surveying research journal, and the Malaysian Surveyor publication, also RISM YQS social media channels, RISM publications, and all matter related to the media. While the sports and social is to promote members' interests in the fellowship amongst all classes of members and their awareness of sports and recreational activities. While the education portfolio is mainly to promote collaborations among various universities with different professionals in the construction industry, and to join organized events that promote advancement of the quantity surveying profession for the betterment of society. While IT portfolio is to broadcast activities organized by the committee through social media. This is the RISM YQS Facebook page, where the IT portfolio will always update the YQS development through the Facebook page and also IG and LinkedIn. Professional practice portfolio is to enhance and strengthen young members' capacity in practices matters, to monitor members' feedbacks on the YQS activities, and to conduct several surveys on the status of well-being of the young quantity surveyors. So what we have done in the past, these are some of the photos that activities that we have organized. We have the QS Amazing Race or QS Race, where we gather the students, the QS students, one day to carry out activities. Then we have the RISM, RICS International Surveying Conference for undergraduates. It's been more than 12 years that we have organized this. Then we have the RISM QS Undergraduate Urban Tracking in 2019. And then back in 2020, we have webinar for the new normal for YQS when the pandemic started. So this is the 2020-2021 session in which we have the chair, co-chair, vice chair, secretary, treasurer, and the person in charge of each of the portfolio. And the recent involvement are the survey about the impact of COVID-19 to young practitioners and QS students, in which we are going to review the data results later. Webinar talk about the roles and opportunities of QS, the symposium about back to principles, and then we also organize the university pre-convo night. So let us go to the topic of the day, the throes of the unprecedented COVID-19 toward Malaysian young quantity surveyors, and let's welcome my partner, Surveyor Nazira.
All right, okay, thank you, Dr. Tiong. So let me share my screen first. All right, as what has been mentioned by Dr. Tiong, so this is my topic that I would like to share to all of you. So I'm Nazira, I'm from RSM YQS Malaysia. So this is today's topic, the throes of unprecedented COVID-19 towards Malaysian quantity surveyors, which is, to be more precise, it is more towards young quantity surveyors in Malaysia. So as what we has been faced nowadays until today, I believe that all the countries, we are still combating to settle with this unprecedented phenomenon, which has been started since December 2019 until now. So we are waiting for the miracles to settle with the coronavirus COVID-19. So I will share a few data, okay, in regards on what is actually happened worldwide actually. Okay, it's not only in Malaysia, but is worldwide. So this data is applicable worldwide. It's not only in Malaysia. All right. So as what you can see from here, all the sectors has been affected due to this unprecedented phenomenon. So as what you can see from here, the graph shifted from positive percentage to the negative which is includes constructions industry. And then speaking about the workers, the survey towards the workers, okay, in regards of the constructions sectors, as what you can see in the figure, okay, they have a lot of workers who facing reduced in hours to work in construction site, especially. So this leads to the reduce on their paid, okay, and also most of them they have been forced to get this unpaid leave. So based on the Misha Keshal, his study on the how actually all the countries worldwide can be recovered from these unprecedented phenomena. Okay, according to his study, it takes about 2 years for all the economic sectors to be recovered. But the thing is that 2 years should start from when? Because all the countries worldwide, we still combating on to flatten the graph, to break the change on the spreading of the COVID-19. So these 2 years can be start when the country itself is fully recovered. But there are some studies saying that it can be more than 2 years. It depends on the how fast that country can work towards to picking up to settle with the COVID-19. So in October 2020, okay, RSM YQS Malaysia, we having a survey. We sent the survey to the all the young QS practices in Malaysia. So we wanted to have their input on how actually they face this unprecedented phenomenon, COVID-19. So we're sending to all the young QS, okay, in Malaysia. So they have 412 respondents who responded to this survey. So the highest age group is fall between 26 to 30 years old. So from this age group, we can see that all the respondents are a junior QS, right? Just started their careers, just start to building up their careers as a QS or practitioner who practice in the built environment. And then we also, from the survey, right, the respondent background, most of them are from graduate quantity surveyors. So this is truly reflect on the age range, which is 26 to 30 years old. And then the second highest rank goes to those who have the management position, senior managers, and so on and so forth. And then one of the questions, okay, that we try to get the respondent response on their level of security on the position or on the jobs that they hold, especially when they are actually sitting in this unprecedented phenomenon. 48% saying that yes, they are feel secured, okay, but as what you can see from the figure, for maybe and no, which is this figure is to reflect on towards the negative side, okay, which is they are feeling more insecurities on what they have, okay, in regards of their careers, because of when we having MCO, okay, movement control orders, and we also have totally locked down, okay, for the entire Malaysia. So all the activities has been stopped for some times, right? So this makes to the almost all the small firms, small company, they are unable to sustain themselves, and some of them they have to close the shops. So this is I think this is a feedback that actually we get from the respondent. And then in regards on the how actually the perceptions of the respondent, okay, towards their own company, on how actually the company planning to mitigate the impacts of COVID-19, because as far as we know, once the COVID-19 affect or attack that particular countries, the first thing first that will affect is the economic sectors, which is in Malaysia. What I can see is construction sector is the third main contributors to the our economics. And then throughout the studies, the respondents said that no austerity measures required for now, because this is actually to reflect on the because this is unprecedented phenomenon. So every one of us are not ready actually to face this phenomenon. So but until today, we are slowly to picking up lah, right? Picking up to trying to see what kinds of angle that we can do to actually to tolerate back with the COVID-19 that been affect our Malaysian country. Other than that is on the salary reductions, right? In Malaysia, whether the workers got the reductions on the salary, or maybe they need to face for the retrenchment, right? So speaking about retrenchments, yeah. So we do have one question, which is specifically we wanted to see whether their organizations having these directions, which is to retrench the staff, because retrenchment is actually to make that company more resilient. So based on the data, uh, 82% saying that there will be no retrenchment from the company management. So means that they are at the safe side in regards of their job position. And then prior to the COVID-19 outbreak, and also we have MCO and also lockdown. So um, most of the works or all the activities has been stopped, but there are some industry who shifted, right, from the normal routine, which is we work in the office. So we switch, we remotely control all the works at home, which is working from home. But from the data that we gain from the respondent, 210 saying that they are not actually remotely remoting their works, because the nature of the constructions itself, everything we have to do on site. So yeah, the management side, yes, we can still do at home, but when it comes to constructions activities, everything we have to do on site. All right, and then in regards of the hiring and also recruitment planning, because we see that from the data, 82%, sorry, saying that they have no retrenchment. So we wanted to see whether the organization itself, they keep hiring or recruit the new staff, or is there any potential recruitment planning in the future? So from the data that we get from the respondent, 44% that saying that there are no changes to recruitment practices. So whether that organization, they go for the retrenchment or they maintain what they have. And then when the COVID-19 pandemic ends, okay, they have one questions that we wanted to see their perspective, their how actually their future planned, okay, and also how actually they forecast for their own organization, okay, to recover from this unprecedented phenomenon, which is this COVID-19 pandemic. And 25% saying that they said it takes about 12 months to actually to recover. So they believe that if our country, our Malaysian country, we can flatten the graph, then from there we can work for about 12 months. That is what they forecast to recover and to get in or to get their previous performance lah. And And then with that, okay, I hope that may we survive and may we adapt to the new normal. With that, I thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Tiong, and also Surveyor Nazira for the very wonderful sharing. So I think from Dr. Tiong sharing about the ISM YQS activity, I think we found that the activity actually is quite interesting. They're not just on the webinar basis, they also will have amazing race and even urban tracking. Then for Surveyor Nazira sharing, I think it's very insightful for the survey to actually to understand about how is the impact to the young practitioner in Malaysia, and there's a sample size is around 412, so it's quite impressed and also quite insightful for the sharing. So okay, next up, I will introduce the next speaker. It will be Sunny Wong from HKIS. So before I pass the mic to him, let me share about his profile. So Surveyor Sunny Wong is a quantity surveyor practicing in private consultant from Hong Kong. He's a corporate member of the HKIS and a registered professional surveyor, quantity surveying in Hong Kong. So Sunny is currently also the vice chairman of our ICEC Rifling Professional and also the vice chairman of the HKIS Young Surveyor Groups. So he obtained his master degree major in construction project management and also the bachelor degree in surveying in the University of Hong Kong. So Sunny is specialized in building construction for Hong Kong public sector and also have experience in property and facility manager sector. So without further ado, I will pass the mic to Sunny.
Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. So today I'll talk about a little bit on the impact of COVID-19 on the Hong Kong construction industry. Yeah. All right. So I'll talk about the content of the today first. First of all, I will briefly describe about myself as a speaker, and I will talk about the disruption of construction projects in Hong Kong due to COVID-19, followed by the time and cost content of COVID-19 in Hong Kong, and some possible relief measures and some reference I've made. So to introduce myself, I guess Jacqueline just mentioned about, I would not repeat too much about that, just to let you guys know about how I look like when I was in a better shape. Yeah, so next please. Okay, so for the disruption of construction projects in Hong Kong due to COVID-19, I would say Hong Kong's construction industry has been deeply affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. Yes. So what about the disruption actually? The Hong Kong government, as the leading role, has some special works arrangement was encouraged to implement among the companies. Some construction companies adopt an AB team approach. That means for every day of working in office, the next day we'll be working from home. As such, the approval of information about like building plans might take longer to complete. Secondly, some construction sites are forced to close due to the discovering of some confirmed cases. And also, most of the construction materials are imported from China or overseas. The procurement of the construction materials is delayed due to additional restrictions imposed in these locations. Inspectors are unable to travel to factories for inspection like in China. Some of them are changed to video conference inspection instead. And last but not least, some construction sites are reported with some site shortage of labor. This may due to the construction workers from China not being able to cross the border. And then I'll talk about the time and cost content for the COVID-19 in Hong Kong. First of all, as translated from the French, the term force majeure usually means an external event that is unforeseeable and avoidable, and not the result of the action of the parties, making it impossible for a party to honor a contract. A party to a contract who cannot perform their contractual obligations for extraordinary reasons may declare force majeure. The outbreak of COVID-19 could be one of the events qualified in the force majeure. For the extension of time and additional payment, it is important for the contractor to seeking extension of time to demonstrate how the present situation with the COVID-19 has affected the progress of work, rather than merely providing the outbreak as a basis of extension of time. The COVID-19 outbreak may constitute special circumstances under some of the government contracts, giving rise to the extension of time only. For some commonly used contract in Hong Kong, the parties should pay attention to the following contractual grounds. First of all, the 2005 standard form of building contract, that means the private form. Parties should consider about clause 25 to 28 in the standard form of building contract, including those like extension of time, delay recovery measures, direct loss and or expenses, and notice of claim for additional payment. For the 1999 government form, parties should consider about clause 50 and 64, which about extension of time for completion and notice of claim. For the newly adopted NEC4 contract, parties should consider clause 60.1, subclause 19, which COVID-19 may constitute as a compensation event, for which contractor will be compensated on both time and cost. Okay, so there are some obstruction of the Hong Kong construction industry. Now I'll talk about some relief measures that are possible. The Quantity Surveying Division Chairman, Chairlady, Surveyor Amelia Fogg, has just posted some possible relief measures on the newspaper, which includes some temporary relief of monthly payment to bi-weekly payment, shorten the application process of payment application, for example, like from 25 days to 14 days, etc. Assess and value those variations that might have, because there may be changed and to the scope and has happened, but not yet paid to the contractor. Direct down payment to the materials to the material contractor, supplier, to avoid contractor being paid a large amount of down payment. These are the possible measures that might be possible to relieve the financial burden of the contractors in Hong Kong. Okay, so I'll make it short. Thank you very much.
Yep. Thank you, Surveyor Sunny Wong, my brother, for your sharing. I believe most of us experience similar challenges. Adapting our contracts and working style is not inevitable for survival. So we're going a bit overrun. So without further ado, let me introduce our next speaker, Surveyor Amy Lu Babua. Surveyor Amy is actually our honorary secretary assistant for ICEC Rising Professionals. Surveyor Amy is a licensed civil engineer in the Philippines and has 16 years extensive experience in the construction industry involving mixed-use development and high-rise buildings, of which 13 years are in the UAE. She's currently working as a senior quantity surveyor and pursuing her ICS membership. She's an active member of Philippine Institute of Certified Quantity Surveyors, wherein she heads in its Young Surveyor Group and the PICQS Think Tank Training, PT3T, sorry, which aim to provide level 1 knowledge to PICQS members. She's a regular trainer for the topic commercial management in construction. She's also part of PICQS Standards Regulatory Committee and a contributor to PICQS Course Journal First Edition. Surveyor Amy is also PICQS representative to PACS, which is Pacific Association of Quantity Surveyors, Young QS Group, and International Cost Engineering Council Rising Professionals. She will talk about commercial management in construction today. So let us invite Surveyor Amy. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thanks, bro, for that wonderful introduction. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Amy.
Okay. Thanks, Jacqueline. Apologies.
I can hear you.
Jacqueline will have to control my presentation slides. I have problem with my laptop. Okay, so I'll start my presentation with some details regarding the growth of young QSS in the Philippines. Sis, next slide, please. Since our members have engineering background, we are now in talks with various educational institutions to introduce quantitative surveying and have it included in their curriculum. From the slide, you can see the list of those educational institutions where PICQS has a memorandum of understanding already. The main purpose of this MOU is to promote QS education, wherein PICQS will provide trainers and develop modules. We will also be the accrediting body, and we will be regulating the conduct of QSS. The students will become student members of PICQS, and this is the first step of becoming a certified QS. So aside from PICQS members who are essentially already working, we now have started accepting student members. Student members from PIDA, or that first one on the list, are already members, and we are in the process of finalizing things such as bylaws with regards to membership of the students from the other university. At the moment, PICQS are receiving lots of inquiries, and lots of students, even from those universities not in the list, has expressed their interest to join PICQS student chapters. PICQS, YQS have been attending PAX conferences, and that's about the YQS growth in the Philippines. Sis, next slide, please. Since most of the topic today are related to COVID and the future of quantity surveying, and most of the presenters are from consultancy firms or developer QSS, I thought of sharing some old school quantity surveying from a contractor QS point of view. So my topic is commercial management in construction, which is actually part of PICQS structured training, where I am the global lead. This is also a shortened version. I normally present this topic for like 2 to 3 hours. So slide 4, sis, please. Next slide. Sis, can you show the full slide, please? Thank you. Okay, so commercial management. So what is commercial management? It's actually management of the project finance as it progresses. And commercial management is done by monitoring, reviewing, and controlling costs to a minimum and maximizing income. But how do we do that? Sis, next slide, please. Okay, that's it, sis. Okay, this slide contains all of the common reports and trackers contractor QSS maintained throughout the construction stage of the project, from day 1 till completion. Actually, items B to J, they serves as backup to item A report. And I highlighted item A1 because that is what I have been using or preparing, since the projects that I am involved with are mostly buildings. And yes, contractor QSS prepares all of this. Slide 6, please. So commercial management. So what do we do? We first establish a budget, then we do cash flow management, as well as the financial management of our supply chain. Sorry. Next slide, please, sis. Sis, can you show the full slide, please? There. Thank you, sis. So what comprises a construction budget? From this, so you can see direct costs and indirect costs. From the equation, you would see that the net estimate, which includes labor, materials, plant, subcontractors, sundries, and staff, that is what makes up the direct cost. And everything else in the equation, that is the indirect cost. So additional project financing costs here in UAE, it is like sponsorship fee because we have to pay a local to operate a business here. Overheads, of course, the fixed cost for running the company, and then of course the required profit, and then risk margin or the allowance to cover shortfalls like labor risk, and then the market risk allowance like fluctuation, escalation, and then we also get discounts. Next slide, please. So this is just a detailed chart of what makes up the net estimate. So of course, hard costs or the direct costs or the money spent to physically complete a project, and then soft costs are those not visible, but we have to spend money on that, like design fees, legal fees, and permits. So you can see main con and subcontractors, which will have staff and sundries costed under general conditions or the preliminaries. And then material costs, which is made up of the net cost of materials, tax and shipping, handling, and storing costs. Installation costs, which includes labor and equipment costs. Labor cost is broken down to base wage, tax, premium, or that is the additional wage given if they work on weekends or night differential, and then fringes like gratuity, pension plans, separation pays, profit sharings. While equipment cost covers equipment rental or purchase costs, and then operational costs, which includes diesel and repair. Sis, next slide, please. So what do we consider when we manage the cost of the project? First one is material, including wastage. Since materials represent a major expense in the construction, so minimizing procurement or purchase costs presents important opportunities for reducing costs. And then also poor material management can also result in large and avoidable costs during construction. First, if materials are purchased early, capital may be tied up, and then interest charges incurred on the excess inventory of materials. And worse, if the materials are stored or purchased early, during storing, it may deteriorate or be stolen. And then, for example, electrical equipment, they must be stored in waterproof location. And then delay and extra expenses may be incurred if materials required for particular activities are not available. Accordingly, ensuring a timely flow of material is an important concern of project managers. We also do bulk buying because we can get discount if there are projects, ongoing projects with the same requirement. And we also need to consider allowances for waste like breakage during shipping or transit, especially for block works and tiles, and then wasted on site during handling, mixing, installation, and then also loss of materials due to theft, and then overlaps and joints for steel. And then next one is subcontractors. Well, as main contractor, we pay attention to the quality of work produced by our subcontractors, as ultimately we're fully responsible to the employer for the matters of quality, timing, and cost on the project. We always see to it that we choose the best subcontractors to do the work to avoid issues with quality, which may result in additional costs for repair, extended labor, and plant hire, and delay in payment release, since if the work or part of the work is not approved, either we get a deduction for non-conformance or zero payment at all, which affects our cash flow. And then, of course, it will affect our subcontractors' cash flow because we will not be able to pay them. And then the next one is plant. When selecting plant or equipment, we consider factors such as the type of equipment. Aside from considering if we're gonna buy or rent an equipment, we consider whether it is a standard or a special type of equipment. We also consider replacement of parts or repair, and then the cost of owning or renting, operating costs, the economic life of. Yes?
Sorry for interrupting. Maybe you need to quickly run out for a bit. Yeah, due to time
Yeah,
constraint. Thank you so much.
yes. Okay. So plant, and then labor. So we also consider labor costs, and then other factors like inflation, escalation, interest rate fluctuations, and discounts for other payment. Next slide, please, sis. So as contractor QS, we also prepare our cash flow, and then you can see the different slide. You can see the definition of cash flow and cash flow management and what comprises or affects our cash in as well as the cash out. And as contractor QSS, we prepare two types of cash flow. One is in revenue model, or which is the cash flow based on BOQ, which we submit to our externally, and then the cash flow model, the internal one, which is what we use to manage our payment release to our vendors. And then slide 11, the last one. So these are just the two critical factors to consider in the financial control of any construction project. The methods of control of a project should be appropriate, not only in its objective size, but also the uncertainties inherent in predicting its cost, timing, and risk of changes. And also, control must include action and alternative actions, the consequence of which must be forecasted. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Surveyor Amy, for your sharing, our Honorary Secretary Assistant. Thank you for explaining in better details of how contractors arrive at their prices. So only by understanding their considerations can we justify their claims. So we'll now introduce our next speaker from SISB, Surveyor Wong Yimin. I actually know Surveyor Wong Yimin since 2016 in New Zealand. Surveyor Amy too. I knew her since I think 2013 or 2014. So a lot of us go quite a few years back in our PAX years. So Surveyor Wong Yimin is a quantity surveyor practicing at a renowned company in Singapore. She started her first career by working with an interior design firm as a contractor QS. Other than in the construction industry in her years of career growth, she had worked in various sectors such as oil and gas industry, facilities management, and consultancy services of quantity surveying. She also devoted her passion in the QS institution and held several office bearers such as a council member, assistant honorary secretary, and a chairman for Young QS in SISB. She was awarded the winner of PAQS Iwata Essay Competition twice, in year 2016 and 2020, and in her paper in year 2016 was also awarded the Best Commendable Paper of the Year. She is a strong believer in continued education and shares her knowledge with the younger generation and fellow practitioners. Her topic today is brief introduction of COVID-19 Temporary Measures Act 2020, COTMA, in Singapore. So let's invite our surveyor, Wong Yimin. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Good evening, Chairman and fellow friends. Or maybe good morning to you, depends on which continent you are at. Okay, today I'm glad to share with you on the roadmap of a young QS in SISB, and also to share a topic on the COVID-19 Act in Singapore. Okay. So to recap, back in 2020, this YQS has some activities. We have our very first joint webinar with a law firm on the topic for the role of a quantity surveyor in expert witness and arbitration. For this webinar, one of our young QS speaker was Vincent Leong. Okay. And as what Aaron has mentioned earlier, so the other activity in YQS will be the Iwata Award, which I was the winner of it. Okay. And other than that, this is in local. So in regional, we have our active young QS participating in ICEC. So we have Jacqueline, who was the speaker for the modular construction in Hong Kong and Singapore back in June 2020. And we also have Giselle Ching, who will speak on the effective communication in contracts administration in November 2020. Okay, so looking ahead, with the current pandemic, we are very cautious of what we can do and what we plan. So the roadmap for YQS in 2021, we will still wish to have some educational site visit, and hopefully it can materialize due to the safe distancing and the numbers of participants. Okay, because we usually have very good feedback on site visits. So this is one of the activities that we want to continue on. Next will be, since our very first successful webinar, we hope that we can have more webinars in 2021. Okay, so plans will be putting up to engage local practitioners, lawyers of the construction industry to share some of the webinars with us, to share some of the topics. And the other one would be, we'll encourage more younger members to know what is PAQS and expose them into the essay writing to take part in the IWATA essay competition. Okay, so on good entries, we will encourage them to enter into the IWATA competition. Okay. And fourthly, we're also setting up discussion panels and portal for the young QS group to come forward with their questions. It's like an open discussion whereby the YQS committee will be the panelists, and should the question be require a very senior members to participate, we will also get one of the very senior council member to join in the panel discussion. So all in all, this is to facilitate better learning experience, because we are from different companies. We are either contractors or consultancy industry. So questions like, for example, how do we deal with EOT and some burning questions that we face during our work. So we would like to hear from different perspectives, from the contractor point of view and from also the consultant point of view. Okay, so there's so much so for YQS in 2021. Right now, I will move on to share a topic on COVID-19 Act in Singapore. And firstly, like, why do we have this act? Okay, and this act actually comes up due to the pandemic, where the Singapore government introduced this act when the built environment sector came to a halt during the circuit breaker and also the extended circuit breaker period. Okay, we know that projects face an increase of cost during this disruption of the supply chain, where work has been stopped and there's an increase of construction costs. So Singapore government stepped in to implement this act so that all the stakeholders in the value chain will be benefited from it. And okay, sorry, I won't say benefited from it, but we will assist the stakeholder in this value chain to provide significant support and implement several relief measures to help the stakeholders across the entire construction process. Okay, so we will walk you through what are the few relief measures that Singapore government has implemented. Okay, first is the extension of time. During Singapore, the lockdown period was effective from 7 April to 19 June. Okay, there was a lockdown period where there's no work, no activities. Okay, so this extensions of time, we had a universal grant of 122 days for this period. Okay, we call it as an affected period, which is from how this 122 days comes about is from 7 April to 6 of August. Okay, eventually when we enter into a reopening, contractors are able to progressively restart the work. Okay, so there are the criteria to this, like who can qualify for this 122 universal EOT. So contracts that are entered on or after 25th March 2020, or tenders that are closed on or before 1st June 2020 will entitle to this COVID-19 Act. Okay. And provided that your contract is still in force since 2nd of November 2020. And of course, if your works are still ongoing as of 7 April. Okay. And the next, okay, because we have several sections of this act. So mainly if you see why is it the part 8A and 8B. So 8A talks about the extension of time. So the another second act that relief measure will be this part 8B, which talk about co-sharing of the contractor's costs. So what are the contractor's costs involved? Okay. So the cost will be like those rented plants and machineries, site maintenance costs, performance bond, insurance extension, anything that but there's non-manpower related. So of course the criteria will be much very similar to the previous one, whereby the timeline of the contract, when was it started and when is it awarded. Okay. And sorry, next slide, please. Okay, so as for this co-sharing, one of the criteria will be the contractor is entitled to the 50% of cost sharing between the employer and the contractor. Okay, but at a cap of 0.2% of the contract sum monthly. So this will be paid out during the monthly progress payment, but it will be capped at 1.8% of the overall contract sum. So of course, but for this qualifying period of this co-sharing, it will be between 7 April to 31st March 2021. So it's quite a long period for the co-share portion. Okay. Other than these two, this COVID-19 Act, okay, in short, we call it COPMA, which means COVID-19 Temporary Measure Act. It also covers other relief measures such as there is a memorandum to say that employer, okay, in the event that because of this pandemic, contractor was delayed, so there is against the commencement of any proceeding and enforcement of liquidated damages. Okay, so contractor is not entitled to any LDs because of this delay. All right, and there's also employers is not able to call on any performance bond due to the situation which resulted from COVID-19. Okay. So of course, because of that, contractors are not able to perform their obligation. So employers are not supposed to claim a breach of contract due to this pandemic. So these are the few measures that the government said that, okay, because of all these unexpected or unforeseen circumstances, then you cannot call upon the bond, you cannot sue against the contractor for being delayed and breach of contract. And so there's no commencement of any legal proceeding because of this. And apart from that, contractor is also able to provide a notification of relief, which means party applying for relief have to serve a notification to the other party. Okay, for example, I'm a contractor, I will serve a notification to employer saying that, okay, Mr. Employer, I hereby give you a notice of relief saying that I want to claim for the following item related to COVID-19 events. Okay. So, and also, should there be any disagreement, right, subject, and in any other construction case, we always have an arbitrator or litigator, but for this COVID-19 in particular, should any party disagree with the number of days or be it the cost, there is an appointment of assessor to determine whether the relief should be granted and to what quantum. Yeah. So there's so much. So for the COVID-19,
sorry, Imin, to interrupt. Maybe you need to round up. Yeah, thanks.
Yes, I already come to the last part of the act. So much so that these are the relief measures the Singapore government has stepped in to help in terms of the construction industry. Yeah. So yeah, this is my brief introduction about our COVID-19 Act. Yeah, and I have come to the end of my presentation.
Okay, thank you, Imin from the SISB for sharing about the insight of the COPMA. So I think so far we already have 5 speakers that have speak actually during this seminar, and we have noticed that actually quite a number of speakers actually speaking about the impact of the COVID in different countries, be it from Singapore, Malaysia, Hong Kong, and the first speaker actually by Hashida on Sri Lanka. So I hope that as of now, actually everyone will have gained some insight on the different impact that the COVID actually impact the country as of now. So next up, I will introduce our next speaker, and we'll be sharing on the another topic. Okay, this one. Okay, so the next speaker actually is from NIQS, the Nigeria, is Ayode Fele. So let me share briefly on his profile. So Ayodele is the first recipient of the AAQS Africa Young Achiever Awards and a strong advocate of construction industry reforms. He has served both national and international professional organizations in volunteering capacity and currently lead the young professional arm of the Nigerian Institute of Quantity Surveyor, NIQS in short, with a membership strength in excess of 10,000 in Nigeria and in Nigeria. So Ayode had provided professional services to both private and public sector clients, offer core QS, project and program management, construction procurement audits, management consulting, and as well as the training services. And Ayode also belong to a few leading professional organizations in the built and natural environments, include NIQS, I mentioned just now, the Project Management Institute, PMI in short, and the Quantity Surveyor Registration Board of Nigerians. And currently, he also is the APC candidate for the ICS. So he also had attended both the national and international conference regularly, in which he actually delivered conference paper on topics such as procurement, stakeholder management in constructions, public-private partnership, branding and image management, and many more. So without further ado, I will pass the mic to Fele.
Yeah, thank you, our moderator. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hello, can you all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, yes. Thank you once again, Chair of Young QS Forum. Through my presentation, I want to acknowledge or say Asante. We appreciate you for coming around and the insights that you have. Seconds, let me try and share my.
Yes, we can. Please proceed. Thank you.
So I am volunteering for the future, and it didn't talk about practice or industry specific subjects, and I believe you have one or two things to gain in order to make our industry and profession better. Then the overview of my presentation, I will talk about Young QS Forum in perspective. What is NIQS, the Young QS Forum? Then the core of Young QS Forum activities in Nigeria. Talk about project Get Kids into QS, technical site visit, and among other programs. Then I will speak about volunteering for the future, some facts that we need to reflect on, then the call for action, then I will conclude it. So the Young QS Forum in perspective, we are actually here in order to strengthen collaboration between NIQS, state chapters in Nigeria, national bodies, then other international bodies like ICEC, among others. Then development of programs and projects and special initiatives that support growth of young members. Then what is NIQS? The Nigerian Institute of Quantity Survey was founded in 1969. At the time of formation, NIQS had barely 20 qualified quantity surveyors in Nigeria, including some British nationalities. Then presently, The institute has over 10,000 members. Then out of that 10,000 members, 6,000 plus are corporate qualified members practicing in Nigeria, and some of them in diaspora. The Young QS Forum, I will look at Young QS Forum volunteers in number. 2015, the forum was established. Then presently we have 15 members, national executive of volunteers, led by the chairman, my humble self. Then we have 27 active chapters out of 36 states in Nigeria. Then we currently have 80 plus state volunteers overseeing activities of the chapters. So 80 volunteers working across 27 states out of 36 states in Nigeria. Then in terms of membership strength, the Young QS Forum Nigeria has more than 7,500 members, including undergraduate students and postgraduate students. Then we have only one single goal. The goal is captured in 3 words: to encourage, to engage, and to empower young professionals. Our synergy for growth is to ensure collaboration between the Quantity Surveyors Registration Board of Nigeria, which is actually the regulatory body for quantity surveying practice in Nigeria. Then our parent body, the Nigerian Institute of Quantity Surveyors. Then we have the Young QS Forum. My next slide, I'm going to take you through within a few minutes because of the brevity of time, the core activities of the Young QS Forum in Nigeria. One of it is Project Get Kids into QS. And our target is to reach out to a minimum of 20,000 secondary school students across the country, because we believe in hunting for talents, and it's going to impact what we do when we reach out to secondary school students and attract them. And we have started getting results. Sadly, we have reports of some countries of the world that QS program are being closed down because of inability to get enrollments. But reverse is the case in Nigeria, actually. We are having departments in different universities and polytechnics, which are having candidates that are 100% consider quantity surveying as their first choice. So we drive this rigorously, even though COVID-19 impacted our progress negatively in 2020. But 2021, we are going to go with a full drive. Then the next of our programs or activities is technical site visits. So across the country, across the 27 countries, we go to project sites to engage and to expose our colleagues to engineering projects. These pictures are actually taken from different parts of the country. Some Eco-Atlantic projects in Lagos, then in Abuja, one of the biggest construction sites in Abuja here. Then some in Kaduna State, some in Port Harcourt, River State, and across the country. Then another core activity of the Young QS Forum is classroom and online training. So we organize training for CPD, then cover different subjects: MIA cost management, project management, rate computation from the first principles, construction contract management, leadership, image management, then career development training. And some of them are featured both national and international speakers, delivering values and dividends to young members. We try as much as possible to strengthen global engagement. Then the forum had representatives in many international conferences. I was in Hanoi, Vietnam in 2019 to represent the Young QS Forum. Then the immediate past chair was in Icec conference in Sydney in 2018. Then many of our members have attended AQS conference in Gambia, then many other programs in Qatar, Malaysia, and other countries. And this, we cannot separate it from the support from our parent body, who believe in the capacity of the younger ones and prepare them to vote for tomorrow. So I'll go to the next section of my presentation, which is volunteering for the future. Then why should we care about the future? Why should we care about tomorrow? Why the immediate COVID then the attendant social and economic turmoil even impede us not to think about tomorrow. Just live today. Well, I want to assure you that it's important for us to think about tomorrow in order to be future ready. So I want to take you some facts to think about. Population growth. By 2050, the global population is going to increase by 60%. And this percentage, this growth is going to come from countries like the United States, Nigeria, India, then other countries. Then how do we present ourselves to source construction output will be around $15 trillion. So it means we need more members who are market ready, fit for tomorrow's markets. Then equally, by 2030, by 2050 rather, the global community is going to need 50% more food, 45% more power, 30% more water. And this is from the UN High-Level Panel on Global Sustainability. Then the resilience of cities, the need for resilient city as a result of climate change. That compels us to think about tomorrow. What is our place as young quantity surveyors across the globe? And what do we present in addressing the immediate problems facing the planet? So these are some of the reasons why we need to think about tomorrow and prepare ourselves through volunteering in order to deliver our profession and our industry. My next slide is a call for action. The young QS that is going to be future ready must combine these three key ingredients. The first is technical ability, and past speakers has dwelled extensively on this. Technical ability, understanding of your trade, which is in this case quantity surveying. So, but beyond that, ethics must be at the core of what we do. Uprightness, doing what is right, protecting the environment and protecting the markets, property market, construction market. Then ethics must be at the core of what we do. Then we must be aware of the markets as young quantity surveyors. Beyond our tender, our documentation, beyond our bill of quantity production, you need to be aware of the market trend. What about urbanization, city management, urban planning? What does this tell about our place? And that's what is going to make us future ready. So the core of this is a young QS that is going to be future ready. So technical ability, ethics, the market awareness. They are going to be a very viable ingredients in order for us to be future ready. My next slide is a concluding part, which I say our future is secure if only we empower each other for growth. So, and this is a call across the globe. The Young QS Forum must ensure that we build structure in order for us to grow. Let's empower each other. Let's reach out to others. Then the second point is we must be ready to volunteer for the future. What we do must not be because of monetary or financial benefits. When we go with these ideas, we get results and our profession is going to be preserved. Then lastly, we should drive our projects, programs, and special initiatives in order to create global impact. So maybe in the next 10 years, I want to see ICC rising professional having an observers seats in the United Nations, the youth arm of the UN. It is something we can do. Or in Africa here, the AU. So we can do this only if we work together as a body. Thank you for listening, everyone.
Thank you, Surveyor Fale. Yep. So it's good to see Nigeria Institute of Quantity Surveyor, Young Quantity Surveyor Forum so lively and growing. And we see that climate change and resource scarcity is an issue, and we should reflect on that and raise awareness. And volunteering is not just for helping ourselves, but to help our own in growth and development, and also for future generations. So I'll move to the next speaker, who's from Ghana, Surveyor Bernard Cosmas Gonzalez holds a Master in Science in Procurement Management, also a Bachelor of Science in Quantity Surveying and Construction Economics, HND in Building Technology, a professional member of the Ghana Institute of Surveyors. With the relevant education background and experience in the field of practice, Surveyor Bernard have, over the past 12 years, successfully procured and administered jobs of significant value in Cran Construction Limited. His current role as Senior Quantity Surveyor involves project cost analysis and contract administration. His topic today is the quantity surveyor, an emerging leader in the transformation of the construction industry. So let's welcome Surveyor Bernard. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for the introduction. And good afternoon, good morning, and evening, based on where you are. To begin with, we'll talk about a brief about the Ghana Institution of Surveyors. If they can project my slides. If the slides can be projected.
Not yet.
Yeah, can you project it?
We just take one moment.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe you can try sharing again.
You're gonna gotten it.
Not yet. Bernard, do you want me to help you to share?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Do you have it now? Do you have it now?
Yep, we have it on now.
Bernard, yeah, yep, we can see.
Okay. All right. So to begin with, that I'm saying the Ghana Institution of Surveyors, GHIS, was established on the.
Sorry, Bernard, to interrupt. Do you want to make your screen big? I mean, the slide bigger so everyone can see clearly.
Okay. Is it better now?
Yeah, it's all right now. Thanks.
All right. So the Ghana Institution of Surveyors was established on the 28th of February 1969, and it's made up of 3 divisions. We have the Land Surveyors Division, the Quantity Surveyors Division, and the Valuation and Estate Surveying Division. Now, moving forward, the Young Surveyors Network, which is YSN for short, was established under the umbrella of the Ghana Institution of Surveyors, and is aimed at addressing the needs of young surveyors in Ghana and contributing to the work of the Ghana Institution of Surveyors. And its individual divisions is the core of the network. Now, it seeks to ensure that young surveyors are actively involved in all matters of the institution and have adequate representation at all levels. Now, just a little bit of now, the YSN Ghana also comprises of the 3 divisions. The same way that the Ghana Institute of Surveyors has the 3 divisions, the Young Surveyors also falls under the various 3 divisions. But in addition to that, students that are reading surveying in the built-related programs are made to also be part of the YSN. The mission statement of YSN is to empower young surveyors through collaboration and advocacy that contributes to the advancement of the surveying profession. this is just a brief about the young surveyors and the Ghana Institute of Surveyors. Now to the main topic. That's the quantity surveyor, an emerging leader in the transformation of the construction industry. You can all agree with me that the construction industry is facing a period of change. What construction was in years back is not what we have today. And the same way, the roles of the professions involved in the industry in general. And as a matter of fact, the quantity surveyors in particular are also changing. There are opportunities for the surveyors to seize the initiative to broaden their involvement in projects and attain strategic positions within the industry. We don't need to leave it only for just a group of professionals, but at least the quantity surveyors need to move a step further to that lead role in the industry. The quantity surveyor needs to have the ability to manage costs effectively, equating quality and value with individual clients. So in order to achieve this and in emerging as a leader in the transformation of the industry, the young surveyor needs to do these few things. The first one, we need to appreciate and understand all the aspects of construction over the whole life of the building. One thing that we realize is that many young surveyors, referencing to Ghana here, don't really appreciate what a construction process itself is. And to become a very effective surveyor, you need to really appreciate and understand what construction itself is. It's not just about the taking of the preparation of bills of quantity, but understanding what really construction is. That is what will help us to be able to manage costs effectively and also equating quality and value with individual clients. And also, the next thing also is that as we are doing that, we also need to prepare ourselves. Like what we are doing now is part of the training. Prepare, train, and apply further professional qualifications in quantity surveying and its related areas, which includes what we are doing, and it's also a learning process to train our own self and also to enhance our knowledge. We also need to have an understanding of the various concepts of quantity surveying and the related areas as professionals who are developing. And further to that, get informed and tuned to the latest developments and best practice in quantity surveying. As one of the speakers said, now technology is revolving. And as quantity surveyors, we need to apply more technology to what we do. We need to get informed, use the real softwares in building up our rates, in taking off, and other aspect of the quantity surveying profession. Also, we also need to appreciate the current global practice in quantity surveying. We don't need to limit ourselves only to our country or where we belong to. This webinar is to help us have an understanding of what other countries operate, how they also practice. It's high time we try to get to appreciate what other countries, how they operate, so that it will help us also develop, so that you don't work in isolation or you don't practice in isolation. The other point is also for us to educate ourselves on leadership. As a quantity surveyor, yes, you have your profession, but to be able to emerge in transforming the construction industry, we need to also increase our knowledge in leadership roles. If you have to take certain skills in leadership and be able to implement it, it's one thing that we need to also look at. So in brief, this is just a summary of what our presentation. This topic is something that would have to be more of a discussion among various panels, so that at least much ideas to how other countries implement their leadership role as quantity surveyors to be able to put together, to be able to emerge in transforming the industry. So the quantity surveyor, therefore, in emerging as a leader so as to transform the construction industry. Thank you very much. This is my short presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Bernard. Thanks, Bernard, for sharing with us his passions on the QS. Actually, is the leader as of to transform the construction industry. So I actually quite agree with him that we must always need to prepare ourselves, to train ourselves, and to obtain our professional qualification as in the QS field and also related area. So I think that's why we are here today, to actually learn from each other from different countries. So next, I will introduce our next speaker, which is Kevin Sinatra from IQSI. So Kevin actually is a quantity surveyor practicing at Lippo Karawaci, one of the largest developer company in Indonesia. So backed up by his bachelor and master degree in construction management, he actually started his career by working at Branusa Vignale an international QS consultant. Here, he introduced and incorporated BIM as a helping tool to practice more efficiently. So he currently manages both budget and constructions for mass landed house project called Sendana Homes in the Greater Jakarta area. So today he actually will further share with us the QS role in the Indonesian developer firm. So Kevin, I pass the time to you.
Okay, thank you, Jacqueline. I'm gonna share my. Okay. So hi everyone. My name is Kevin Sinatra from Indonesia. So our QS association is called Icec, Ikatan Quantity Surveyor Indonesia. And for our young QS, I think I don't have many things to share because until now, young QS in Indonesia is really haven't settled yet, especially in this kind of condition. So I'm just gonna go straight right into my topic. So today I'm gonna share my experience about QS role, the difference between construction developer in Indonesia and a consultant. So as you all know, QS mostly works at consultants, contractor, or developer. So brief explanation about those three companies doing in construction industry is like as a consultant, you offer advice and expertise to your clients. In construction, this can include like architectural consultant, structure consultant, M&E consultant, and also QS consultant. And then as a contractor in construction, you construct buildings, roof, facilities, or any other things. And as a developer, you develop a land through construction. So whether it is a mall, hospitals, real estate, or other things. So QS job desk is depends on where you're working. Like it kind of mostly the same, but the focus can be different along with additional scope of works. So I'm currently working in a developer called Lipo Karawaci, and previously working in a consultant for 4 years. So I want to share a bit about the differences between those two jobs. Okay, so this one is, as you know, yeah. Firstly, in a QS consultant, you do all kind of standard QS related job like cost planning, preparing BQ, tender and contract documentation, tender assessment and reports, construction stage control. This one needs to be highlighted. And then contractor payment certification, final accounts, VE, and any other things. So when you're working in a developer, what I experience is I still do all those things because yeah, in my company, like no QS consultant is appointed if my project is simple. Like currently I'm handling several mass house projects, like around 700 landed houses and one mixed use project. So my mass house project didn't have a QS consultant, but only my mixed use project using QS consultant. So I still do all kind of those things when I'm working in the my landed house project. So the other things maybe I can share is on the cost planning and project cost control. Maybe this two is kind of like the major difference between working at a consultant. So when you do cost planning in a developer, you have to take account on other costs too, like such as land price or the selling price besides the construction price. So it's more toward the like making a business plan, you know, like a feasibility study or a business plan. And the difference in cost planning between a QS consultant and the developer is mostly the responsibility. When you work in the developer, you are in charge of the budget, like you present and agreed on. So which will go through a lot of challenge from the management to, of course, to reduce the cost. And on the other side, you still have to cope with the concept design from the planning and the marketing team. Yeah, that one's not easy. And then the next one is the project cost control. So this one is like construction cost control on the next level. Like on project cost control, you have to manage not only the construction cost, but also the soft costs, or you can say the consultant's fee, and other small things like security, cleaning, all of your office overhead. So I'm gonna show you about what I'm talking on project cost control. So this one, the example of my budget form. So after business plan is approved, then you have to start doing tender for the required package. And all of your budget is classified into major points. Example is I've shown. So here you can see that the budget is separated in several categories. So the major points are soft costs, preliminary hard costs, and the construction. Construction itself will be split into several package. So mostly preliminary soft cost means consultant's fee, like you have architecture consultant or infrastructure consultant or QS consultant. And then the preliminary hard cost is mostly for marketing purpose, like the kind of things you have to do before before you launch the project, before you do the sales, like the marketing office, the show units, and then the construction itself is the main work, like whether it's infrastructure work, mixed-use project, or landed house project. So let's see an example of this. So what I want to highlight is this, like as a QS, it's also your job to make sure the budget is sufficient. And most of the time, your tender return will not go as you expected, right? So of course you need to do VE and things like that. But sometimes you can't just meet the budget. So when this happens in a work package, you need to see the bigger picture to the budget as a whole. Like you have to exercise some option on how to absorb the overrun cost on other packages. You have to estimate and forecast which package that you can do some saving to absorb the cost overrun on other package. So you don't get stuck in one package. This happens a lot on preliminary hard costs. So on show unit package or the marketing office, like we tend to spend a lot on show units and exceed the budget. And then later we have to absorb the overrun on the main contract package. Like here in example, you can see our budget for show units is like 2B, but in actual, maybe you have to spend 3B or 4B on the show units. And then so you have to absorb the cost overrun like 1 or 2B on the other package, like maybe you can absorb it on the landed house or the infrastructure. That's where your QS skill is needed. Like, you have to estimate and forecast, so you will not get stuck on one overrun package. Okay, so in conclusion, the major differences in what I experience are, the first one is the responsibility. So you calculate the budget for the project, you have to be responsible for it, like make it work. And then the project cost control is a lot more than construction stage control when you're working in a consultant. So many things have to be in account, like what I showed to you earlier. Like forecast is important, so the project can go on and not held to one step item that exceed the cost. And still, there are a lot of things to learn beside construction costs. Like especially if you're working in a developer with a compact team, you are expected to do multitasking, doing things other than your job desk, and coordinate with other division. I think that's all for me for my 1 year experience working as a developer. So still having fun until now, very busy, but looking at many things to learn, it's worth it. Hope this give you insight about working in a developer. Thanks.
Thank you, Surveyor Kevin, for the insights in working in a developer firm. So it is true that for every firms and companies, that the ultimate goal is profit and cost management. We move on to our next speaker, Surveyor Haziq, my fellow Puja colleague. He's our current Puja Surveyor Division Young QS Chair. Surveyor Haziq is currently employed by the Public Works Department in Brunei under the Department of Development, handling government projects in various sectors such as health, education, and religious affairs. Graduated with a master's degree in project management as well as bachelor's degree in quantity surveying with honors, earning a distinction in upper second class respectively. He continued his drive for success by expanding his experience while being employed in private consultancy firms before his current employment. His topic today is the construction industry's role in adapting to the Brunei Darussalam National Climate Change Policy. So let us invite Surveyor Haziq.
Okay, thank you very much, Aaron, for the introduction. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I'm Icec I'm representing Puja for Brunei Darussalam, and sorry, let me just share my slides here. Okay, everyone, I'm right now, today my topic that I've chosen is the construction industry's role in adapting to Brunei Darussalam's National Climate Change Policy, or BNCCP. Just a brief introduction before I start of Puja. Puja is translated as the Institute of Surveyors, Engineers, and Architects. So we have 3 divisions according to the 3 professions. Myself, I am representing the Surveyor Division as YQS. In Puja, we hold talks for CPD for sharing ideas. As an institute representing professionals in the industry, we, when problems or issues come up, we come together, collaborate, and discuss together. And of course, we also have social activities such as dinners where we can network and meet up, or events like a National Day March. Now, the topic I chose is to share about the Brunei National Climate Change Policy, or BNCCP, and how the construction industry contributes to it. This was actually launched recently in July 2020 under the Climate Change Secretariat of the Ministry of Development. As the first national policy on climate change, it's a whole-of-nation approach in recognizing and addressing the responsibility of industries in adverse climate change and the need to curb its impacts in Brunei Darussalam. Brunei is a country covered in about 92% forest area, so we're very proud of that. However, it has been reducing gradually due to forest fires from climate change or deforestation from development, which can consist of new roads, new college campuses, or just new development in forest areas in general. The climate change policy is about establishing strategies and action plans over the next decade and a half. But what about what we should do now? What about what the construction industry does now? That can be answered with another recently launched approach, the Green Protocol. This was launched very recently on 30 January this year and only concerns the government sector. The reason this involves just the government sector is for the government to set an example before other procedures or strategies are introduced onto the private sector. These are the summary of the strategies in place under the Green Protocol. In my personal opinion, how I see it when involving the construction industry in this is to divide into 2 categories. Operation, which concerns on energy usage, paper, water, waste disposal, while the other is project implementation, which is the replantation of trees as an action against deforestation. Okay, under operation, generally it's on improving efficiency on energy use, water use, better management on waste and recycling. Government bodies are to report a gradual reduction each year to the Climate Change Council that we have. Going paperless is also required, using emails as a major form of communication, digitizing info distribution, in line with the Industry 4.0 actually. In project implementation, it concerns on reforestation or replanting trees cut down, whether it's within a project site or in forest reserves. Now, in this, how does it change procedures? How does it change what we do now? For example, clients would have to fund the replanting of trees along with the project cost. Project design, for example, must consider preservation of trees or forest areas, and there would be more emphasis on tree replanting on green spaces of project design in landscape areas. Wherever we can plant trees, basically, it's encouraged to do so. As a newly launched policy and procedure, there are some things that I view as important when implementing it. For example, as the policy is implemented by the government, they're also fully aware of it and are ready to support. For example, the Forestry Department assists in advising the procurement of trees, the availability of forest reserves, and the Climate Change Secretariat within the Ministry of Development, full of people with a passion for a sustainable nation, readily informs on policies, protocols, and SOPs. At the moment, due to it being newly launched, a lot of professionals may not be aware of it. More awareness would help early planning and implementation. Early planning, of course, is important, obviously, as if we ignore these policies, additional funding would have to be sought, finding areas to replant trees would have to be rushed. The whole process would have to be rushed and it would jeopardize the project, basically. Some things that I feel can be further extended from the current policies that we have, whether it's soon or further into the future. Under operation, going paperless is only on information distribution, such as emails or shared folders, Dropbox. That's what I've explained just now. In construction, specifically, we can further digitize the use of paper. For example, on using e-tenders, electronic tenders, including its tender submission and tender reports. We can totally digitize this. This has been talked about before, and it's definitely a possibility. And of course, we can also focus on operations within the private sector instead of just the government bodies and agencies, such as consultancy firms and contractors as well. For project implementation, I feel it can be further expanded outside of just replanting trees. For example, it can be mandatory for contractors to log and report on water consumption, energy use, and efficiency while operating on site offices, and the construction of a project, ensuring that there's efficiency and there's gradual reduction each year. And design regulations can also have stronger mandates, stronger than the current ones that can be more in line to the newly established policies. Okay, and that'll be all for my short presentation on this newly established and interesting policy that I feel. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Surveyor Haziq, for sharing with us the new Brunei National Climate Change Policy. So I think it's very delighted to actually learn that the Brunei actually had just launched this new sustainable policy last year, July 2020. As we all know that actually, so actually globally, right, actually building actually account for 1/3 of the greenhouse gases emissions. And also also the building sector also account for the 40% of our global energy assumptions and also 25% of the global water consumption. So I think it's like each of us actually play a very important part to help for fighting the climate change and also in the sustainable areas. So, okay, without further ado, I will introduce our last speaker for today. So, okay, our last speaker for today will be Robert Jordan Opio from IQSK Kenya. So QS Jordan actually is registered as a quantity surveyor in the Republic of Kenya. He currently serves as a council member of the Institute of Quantity Surveyor of Kenya, IQSK in short, and also a nominee of the ICC Rising Professional Committees. He has applied his expertise on projects in the Greater East African regions. So he currently practices as the managing partner at the Sweet Cost Consultant Limited. Jordan also holds a Bachelor of Art degree in building economic from the University of Nairobi, where he graduated in the year 2007. When not practicing as a quantity surveyor, he actually also mentored the younger professionals. So he likes to read. He also is a sport enthusiast and also consider himself as a socially engaging. So we feel free to interact with him in the next presentation. So now I will pass the mic to Jordan.
Thank you very much, moderator. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Unfortunately, I will not be running a slide, but a very brief presentation. I chose a subject that relates to contracts, various types of contracts in the Republic of Kenya and how we use them. Now, I'll just take you briefly through the sort of contracts that we actively use and the reason why they're applicable in very many various projects. So without much, let's just give you a quick introduction. The industry has been very active since the 1920s with the colonialists coming in. Before that, of course, there were rail developers from Port Mombasa to Uganda. So in 1934 is when our first board as for quantity surveyors was set up. It's called the Board of Registration of Architects and Quantity Surveyors. Under it, we have professional bodies like IQSK, which I represent, which basically is just a professional body, but not a regulator. The Kenyan system works in a way that you have the board regulator legally training and registering and monitoring the performances of professionals in the industry. For further info, you probably would want to go to borax.or.ke if you want to dig in further. The types of contract that is in Kenya are typically, we'll go by volume. The largest used contract is Public Works 1976. That's how old it is, although there have been amendments. And it's mostly used for infrastructure projects, roads. It's a public works contract, type of contract, and has a typical clauses where you know, have your claims, payments, how to run about contracts. It's open and public and anyone can use it. However, the private sector does not employ it that much because of some limitations and how it was crafted and how old it is. There are newer contracts. The second one we use, the second most popular one we use is called the Agreement and Conditions of Contract for Building Works. It was done by a committee called the Joint Building Council. This is predominantly a private sector contract, and it's been enforced since 1999, and a new amendment has been done recently in 2020, which is already released in the market. Not so popular because it's still new and it takes time to adopt because most professionals we prefer to work with a contract that we are fully in control of and very familiar with. The third most commonly used one is by the Public Procurement Regulatory Authority. This is used by state parastatals, organizations that feel like the public ones, the other contract for the public works is a bit too elaborate. It's for infrastructure and you want to do something maybe interiors, maybe a project that doesn't demand so many clauses and so much inclusion. We have, of course, FIDIC, which everyone here is familiar with. It's the most popular one among what do you call them? Among contracts globally used. It's the most employed one. And the various versions. I think if I get into that, we would have this brief presentation taking a bit too long. It is mostly preferred by organizations like foreign investors when coming to market, and of course some infrastructure contracts and PPPs. Really, the structure of the project determines the kind of contract you use, and in this case, FIDIC is popular among public-private ventures and projects that are funded by bilateral partners or foreigners. We have, of course, the World Bank finance projects, which normally have their own standard forms. They always have, you know, the way they run their projects, and typically this contract is used. The beauty of it is some of these projects can be financed by World Bank, but they allow you to use FIDIC or any other form of contract. However, since you're introducing contracts of use in this country, I'll have to mention it. There is one that was launched last year by the Institute of Quantity Surveyors of Kenya. It's an agreement and conditions of contract for small works. This one is just meant to bridge the complexity of projects. It's meant for simpler projects which have less financial financial implication. So those are the types of contracts that are used typically in this country. Of course, the most popular one being the Public Works 1976 one, because of the sheer scale of projects that are done using this contract in terms of size are quite significant. Other than that, it will be important to note that the regulator in the country does not limit usage of any contract. You can even develop your own private, independent contract. But we work with standards. Of course, everyone in the industry likes to work with standards because it makes it easier to manage and determine if there's a case in future or if there's an arbitration position that you would like to, challenge or deal with. I think that's a very brief presentation. I didn't do a slide. Of course, I figured we'd probably be after 2 hours of running webinars, you'd be worn out. We haven't had a tea break or anything, so I think I'll close it at that. For those of us who are in late afternoon, thank you very much, moderator.
Thank you, Surveyor Jordan, for sharing the type of contract used in Kenya for public sector and private sector. I guess understanding international contracts such as FIDIC is crucial. It is favored by international companies because of familiarity. Hence, they understand their risk allocations. This will attract opportunities for foreign direct investment. So we come to the end of the session, and I apologize for the time overrun. As such, we will not be having a Q&A session, but instead, kindly send your questions to our email and we shall revert in due course. Now, we hope you find today's topics interesting and look forward to hosting more in the future. Should you be interested to speak, we will be more than happy to have you, so kindly drop us an email. I would like to thank our special guests, Surveyor Kwadwo Osei Asante, our esteemed speakers from countries all over the world, and our lovely participants for joining us today. We thank you. Please have a good morning, good afternoon, good night, and a good weekend. So stay safe and well. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.